Good afternoon and good morning if you're joining us from somewhere else, or good evening if you're joining us from Singapore, or we normally get our friends from Singapore, Malaysia, Philippines. So it's 12 p.m. in India. So we have another webinar from Telric India's. We do these webinars every Thursday, almost every Thursday, and we bring you the goodness from the Telric side of things. Today, we're going to be looking at 5 features that our customers love in our content management system, which is known as Sitefinity. And I have with me today Biljana. She's our pre-sales engineer on the Sitefinity team, and she's going to be telling us the 5 features that our customers love. Biljana, over to you.
Thanks so much, Abhishek. Just to make sure that everybody can hear me okay, can you confirm that?
You're coming 5 by 5.
Okay, perfect. So thank you all for joining for today's webinar. And indeed, the topic is the top 5 features customers love about Sitefinity. Actually, there are more than 300 features within Sitefinity, so it's not an easy choice to do as to what we have to show you. But I hope what we chose today would be interesting and exciting for you. And you can, of course, learn more after this webinar and contact us for more information about any of the features that sparked interest in you. And because over Telerik we are not that much about talking, but more about doing, actually today I don't even have a presentation, but I would actually like to show you all those features and how those work with Sitefinity. So let's get started. I have this demo website, it's called Quantum, and what I will do is I'll just show maybe around the front end for a second just to get you familiar with it. It's just a fictitious company for IT products like, for example, notebooks, tablets, and accessories, that type of stuff. And the key of feature of Sitefinity, or maybe benefit of Sitefinity, is really the ease of use, and you really can appreciate that as soon as you start working with the system and actually working with the system in the backend. I'm currently logged in as the admin, and if I want to access the administration panel, what I need to do is type /Sitefinity, and I land over at the dashboard over here. So from here I can control all the content published on the website, and I can also maintain the actual setup of the site, maintain all of the administration settings. If you have e-commerce available, you can manage your catalog from here as well. And I would start with just a quick setting over here. We have this staging and syncing module. What it actually allows you to do is maintain a track of all the changes that you're making to the system, and then kind of reproduce those changes on a target environment. For that, you need to say what's your target environment. Now just type in quantum.sitefinity.com. Write some credentials, and this is just a dummy setting over here. But once we save the changes, I'll get back to this part later as to what exactly does this site synchronization, staging and synchronization do. Let's go back to our website. I never want to save my passwords. And let's create some content. So again, I mentioned the ease of use of Sitefinity is one of the key parts. And to really appreciate that, we need to actually use it. So let's create a new page. I'll call it Green Campaign. And I'll just leave the URL as it is, but you can modify it. You have full control over that key metadata for SEO purposes. And you can also choose the template that you will be using for each particular page. There would be a selection of templates to choose from. Usually you have a preset number of templates to use. And when we go to the actual page editing mode, this is where we'll see the actual page editing interface with all the content widgets and all the layout widgets that we have. You already see some elements onto the page. These are coming from the page template that I selected. We can see that's the Quantum 3.0. The elements located on that template are the logo, the navigation, and the footer. And I have this middle section here. And here comes one of the key questions, right? I want to have the flexibility to create my own layout, but I want to make sure that the website is responsive, that I don't break anything. With Sitefinity, you have really the freedom to do that because we use those built-in layout widgets, which provides us with that flexibility. I can drag and drop multiple elements. I can also nest them. And I'll keep it simple with this two-column layout. I can also adjust the size of those columns by dragging and dropping the slider over here. When I switch back to content mode, I now have these two placeholders over here. And I can populate them with content. I can populate them with static content using the content block. I can also populate them with dynamic content using any of those widgets that are pulling data from our repository, which you of course create. And I can also configure each and every widget. I can decide exactly how many items and in what order and fashion I want to see them on each individual page, reusing the content that you already have on multiple locations. For static content, we are using our WYSIWYG editor. So this is our Word-like formatting tool where you can enable or disable a bunch of options from here. And I'll just copy some text from Word, not to write novels in front of you. And I'll just paste it over here. And what you'll notice is that actually all that ugly formatting that we had is actually stripped out. And we have a really clean HTML. All the non-styling formatting is really removed. What we preserve are the bullet points, the bolding, the standard CSS that we need on those pages. Then I can continue formatting the page by setting, let's say, this to heading 1, maybe inserting an image, and for that I'll use an image from my desktop and just drag it over. I can choose which library that image should go to on the fly without me leaving the actual page editing interface. I can do that. I can categorize it and tag it. And also I can further edit it. I can crop it, resize it, rotate it. These are all options that I have straight in here without me needing to open any image editing tool. I can do that directly. I can also align it anywhere I want, set margins, press save, and already I have this image included into my text. Now when I save it, and this is the way my page would look like pretty much. But I want to actually view it and I want to make sure that it appears correctly for the desktop. So for that purpose, I simply click on the preview button and now I can see how this page appears on a desktop device. Another thing that I can do is preview the page for smartphones and tablets. So this is where the power of the built-in responsive design of Sitefinity comes into play. We can see that this is that same page that we just created in a couple of minutes, organized into a single column. We had two columns, but now it's a single column. And also the navigation is now transformed into a toggle navigation. And I can preview this page both on portrait and landscape mode for those smartphones. And I can preview it also on a bunch of other devices that I choose. I can maybe see it on a bigger device like a tablet. So here you see again the navigation is a toggle navigation, but instead of the single column we simply preserve the two columns but resize them to fit the size of the screen. So this is really the power of the responsive design, and it's really flexible. So it's not like you have the same rules applied everywhere. Let me just publish the page and show you where we actually maintain those rules and how do we make that transformation. So the responsive design you actually manage through the design options here under responsive and mobile design. Here you can set any number of rules for any number of devices, and you can make them as specific as you want. We have two groups of rules. One is for the smartphones and the other one is for the tablets. And what we have defined a smartphone to be is something with a maximum width of 640 pixels, any orientation, and based on that setting, we actually generate this media query that we later on use for transforming the layout. You can, of course, define any number of rules, and you can target any size screen and any orientation or aspect ratio that you want specifically. And then you can define what's the transformation that you want to have. So the two columns, probably you would like to turn into two rows. For three columns, you have more options. So you can either have the three rows or two rows with a single row or single column on top and two columns on the bottom, or the other way around. So you simply click through the transformations that you want to apply, choose what you want to happen with the navigation widgets, because those are responsive as well, and you can apply transformations to different navigation widgets separately. So you can either hide a specific navigation widget, or you can transform it to a toggle vertical menu or a drop-down list. So these are the options that you have, and you can have as many transformations here as you want. In addition to that, if you want to do any further styling for those specific groups of devices, then you can apply your own CSS file and have full control over that there. Another really useful feature of the responsive design, I mentioned that it's really granular, is the fact that you can actually decide what should be visible where. So for each layout element that we have, we can go to the edit options from here, and I can actually decide which columns should be visible for which group of devices. So if I have a sidebar or additional information that's not crucial for the smaller screens, I don't want to overburden the site visitor with all of that information. I can simply hide that sidebar. Let's see what the end result would be. I have my page, and when I resize it, only the main content is displayed. So we can focus on the main message on this page and don't distract the mobile user with any additional information that doesn't fit into his screen. So that's Sitefinity's responsive design. As you can see, it's really, really useful. It gets rid of the burden of the business users of worrying how the pages would appear on the site, worrying that they would break something or ruin something, and also it takes the burden out of the website administrators, who need to also worry if all the content creation is going according to what they have predefined. So this is Sitefinity's responsive design. We can actually see this page live now, and let's see how it actually appears. So this is my page, and I can also resize it. We see we have the tablet view with the two columns, and then once we reach the small screen below 640 pixels, we reach this smartphone view, now with only the main content that we are displaying and the toggle navigation. So we saw how you can actually create content with Sitefinity and be sure that it's actually appearing in a nice fashion on any size of the screen. The next thing I want to show is actually how you can adapt that content, because another issue that clients have is usually worrying about how they can present a message which resonates with all of their site visitors, which may have very different interests and history with the company. So instead of wasting time trying to optimize this page and making sure that, for example, the visitors of these quantum websites who are business users are not overloaded with any technical data, but I just have to have some technical data because otherwise my technical users would be bored or wouldn't find the information that they need on this website. So instead of spending the time making or trying to figure out how you can have a single page appeal to all the site visitors, then you can simply have different versions of the page for those groups of visitors. So this is what Sitefinity's personalization actually allows you to do. So for that, you go to the marketing section over here, and there are additional marketing capabilities of the system, but let's focus on the personalization for now. It allows you to explicitly define which are the user segments that you're targeting. So you have, for example, visitors from a specific geographical location, or you have customers or existing customers who purchased a specific product on the website. And all those user segments you define from here, and those are based on a set of characteristics. So here is the list of characteristics that we have, and you can actually extend that list with any business logic that you can put in code. And let's say you want to target, for example, people visiting from a particular location, maybe France. I can add that location, and these will be my users from France. Okay, I now have this user segment, and I can see how many pages would be adapted for those users. Currently 0, since I just created it. Let's go back to the pages over here, and let's open the green campaign page. And for each page, you can now have those personalized versions. I can create a new version of this page for my users from France, where I can say something like news from France. And then I can, for example, filter the news articles, maybe with the ones that are associated with that region and something that's relevant for that particular segment. So this shows you the flexibility of the system. You can personalize either the whole page or just the parts of the page. So you can have just a piece of the page adapted to those site visitors. Then when you publish, you now have those two versions of the green campaign page for those for the default visitors and for those who are visiting the page from France. Now, that determination would be made based on the IP address used for the request. So I have two options. Either I move over to France in order to test my website, or I go to the personalization here and I use my emulator. So this personalization console, as we call it, allows me to actually view the website through the eyes of any site visitor. So if I want to see what the experience would be for someone who already purchased a notebook, I simply need to click this checkbox, and I'll see that those who purchased a notebook instead of a notebook would be actually seeing a different product. We are trying to cross them with this tablet. Now let's see the green campaign page. So this is the green campaign page displayed for those who purchased notebooks or didn't purchase a notebook. It doesn't really matter. What matters is that they're living in France and requesting the page from there or not. And if I check this box here, now we see we're reading the local news. Another way in which you can actually use the personalization is, for example, if you have different roles, so you can personalize based on that as well. You have subscribers on the website, those will be seeing certain resources. You have new customers, those may be seeing, for example, discounts and coupons that you made available only to the new customers. If you are running an intranet, you can have specific content adapted to the different divisions that you have within the company. Everybody is seeing relevant content, content that's exciting for them, and that's why this feature is really, really appreciated by our customers. Now, we went a step further than that. What we now have is something called the Digital Experience Cloud, which allows you to go one step further and actually utilize information beyond the website. So currently you see those characteristics are based on information that we have collected through the current website, like for example visited pages, or data that we are evaluating on the fly, like the geographical location or the time of day, the visit duration, stuff like that, which is applicable to anonymous users at all. Now, besides that, we do have the Digital Experience Cloud, which allows me to actually track those interactions happening on the website, but also aggregate those interactions with any other interaction which took place on any other web properties. So whether those would be interactions that your customers have through mobile applications or interactions that they have on the social media, all that scattered data that you have can actually go into one central location, which is the Digital Experience Cloud. And just give me a second to grab over my Digital Experience Cloud instance so that I can actually show you how that looks. Okay, so here it is. Currently I'm connected to this particular data center. And the idea, again, is to aggregate all the data that we have from all the different web properties that you have connected. Those can be CRM systems, marketing automation tools, other SQL databases that you have. Any place where you actually store data associated with your contacts and customers, you can actually integrate with the Digital Experience Cloud and have it here. And then you can have the different personas defined similar to what we had in the backend of Sitefinity here. But instead, what we actually have is the ability to score each and every interaction. So here it doesn't require me to do all the interactions listed over here, but it's enough for me to show enough activity which scores to the persona threshold that I have set. So if I download a couple of technical white papers and attend developer events, then that would be enough for me to be identified as a developer. I don't need to take part in each and every webinar which is for developers. So once you have that information, once you have the different personas defined, we can actually identify who are the contacts within that particular persona, and those can be known or those can be anonymous contacts as well. You can find the list in here, and the key information is that you can actually reuse that data back to Sitefinity. So I can go back to the backend, and I can actually create a user segment which would be based on my Digital Experience Cloud persona. So again, set of characteristics, and let's pick one from the Digital Experience Cloud, and I can target developers, for example. And this persona would be dynamic, so as soon as someone collects enough points to be recognized as a developer, they would actually fall within this user segment. And now I can again go back to my pages and personalize the green campaign and provide some technical resources for the developers, or I can maybe personalize this message for the developers. And I can say, developers, let's recycle. Again, publish that version, and now I have the same page, but only a part of that page is personalized and adapted to the developers. Let's see it through here. The green campaign. This is the default version. Let's see it for the developers. This is the version for the developers, and let's see it for the users from France. We'll see the users from France. Awesome. So that's another really appreciated feature of Sitefinity, because it exposes something that's not that easy to do, adapt the content, and makes it really, really easy to work with for the business users. It gives them the flexibility to start any campaigns that they want and really do the job that they have, market the product and adapt the content to the site visitors. So this is more of the business feature. Another really useful feature, and that's both for the business users and for the developers, is the module builder. So we do have those predefined content types within Sitefinity. We already use the news articles on the page, so this is where those reside. And each of those content items that we have predefined has a specific structure already in place. So the default fields for a news article will be these ones. So we have a title, we have an author, we have a content of the article, summary, and so on and so forth. In addition to that, I can add any number of custom fields. So if we check the structure as it is now, here is where we actually maintain it. We have a title, we have the content, the summary, and so on and so forth. If I want to maintain some additional information, I can add an additional field. And that field can be of any type. I can add the short text, the long text, multiple choice, Boolean values, dates, numbers, anything I want. I will just add a short text with some additional info. No spaces allowed. I can set limitations, define the appearance of that particular field, make it required or not. If it's a text value, I can translate it for the individual cultures I have added to my instance, or I can keep it the same for all, so you can choose that as well. And once you save the changes, Sitefinity would take care of the rest. It would actually add this field to any existing news article that I have or any new one that I'm creating. And here's my additional info. And you can now start maintaining that field within the backend of the Sitefinity. But what if any content type we have defined doesn't really match the structure that you have in mind? So let's say you want to create a slider for your public site. So let's say instead of this banner that we have here with a single product that we are targeting or presenting, let's say we want to create a slider and we want it to be easily maintainable. We want it to have a title, to have a subtitle, we want it to have some type of a call to action, and we want it to have some type of an image associated with that. How can we do that with Sitefinity? We go to the module builder and we define the structure there. Okay, so here you see already we have two modules created. One is the careers and the other one is stores. So you see the stores over here in the store locator. Again, this is based on the module builder. I can locate any store in the region by simply typing the zip code of the city I'm in, and then I have all the nearby stores listed for me. But let's create our slides module, and the content type in singular would be slides. So these titles would be used throughout the interface so that you can identify them semantically correct. So under fields of this item is where we actually define the structure that we'll be using. So what a slide needs to have is a title. Another thing that we want to have is a subtitle, again of type short text. Another thing I want to have is our call to action. So our call to action would be of type related data, and I'll be pointing to pages. So you can actually associate any data that you have already within the system with any other data that you have. So let's say you are creating a product description, then you can attach, let's say, the technical specification as a related document. You can also relate any images of that particular type of content and so on and so forth. I'll just call this call to action. Okay. You can choose whether multiple items can be associated. In our case, we just want to associate a single page or a single call to action. Another field that you can add is, for example, media, like images, and I'll just call this image. And again, I'll just upload one image. What else do we need? We need one label, maybe for, I'll just close these ones. We have the call to action, so we need one label for the button that we have here. And I'll just call this label CTA. Again, of type short text. Okay, so let's say I'm happy with this. I actually noticed that the label is automatically separated. So this is the structure that I want to have for a particular slide. I can press now Finish. And when I activate the module, what actually happens is that Sitefinity would update the schema, and it would actually generate the whole interface for me to maintain that new type of data. So we can actually go into the backend and create new slides. And without a single line of code, we actually introduced a new entity to the system, which we can easily maintain and visualize on the website. So let's give it a second to actually do those operations. In the moment, it's updating, it's creating tables, columns, anything you may need for persisting that new type of structure that we just defined. Now, if you want to work with that data through code, we also generate a code reference. So this is again something really useful. You can simply copy and paste the code, and for the developers, that's really handy when they need to maintain that type of information. And as you may know, within Sitefinity, you can actually choose which modules I want to have for each individual site within an instance. And within Sitefinity, we can actually maintain multiple sites. And currently you see we have actually 4 sites. One is used as a template for generating new sites, and the other 3 are actually live sites. And let's switch over to this Quantum MVC, and I'll tell you why in a second. So I'll configure the modules and choose the slides, and I have my slides over here enabled. And let me go back to content and switch over to Quantum MVC. So now, because we enabled this module, the newly created slides module, we can actually go into the backend and create a new slide. You see the interface, it's really taking care of everything that I need. Just set a title, set a subtitle, add a label, choose an image, and let's see, I want to have a laptop, the glue on. Which one should I choose? Let's use this one. And let's create a second slide. Oh, we didn't create a call to action. Let's quickly fix that. We want to have a link to the page that this call to action will take me to. Let's look for something Luon related. Okay, and I'll create a second slide, this time for a tablet. One of those tablets that we have, it's called Axiom. Don't try to buy it, it's not available in store. Again, this is just a fictitious company. And let's go to the tablets now. You see all my images are organized into libraries, so I can easily locate whatever I need. Let's see, the better experience. And which page should it take me to? It's the Axiom page. Okay. Now I have those two slides in place. Let's visualize those on the site. So I'll go to the home page. And you see I have this content block with the actual notebook over here. I'll just drop it. And instead of that, I'll take the slides widget. You see it was already generated for me, so I can simply drag it and drop it. And it's listing all the slides that I have. Now this is not really an exciting look and feel for the slides that I have. It's a simple list, and I can edit the template, and currently we are in the MVC mode. So all the widgets that we see on the sidebar here are MVC-based widgets, and Sitefinity actually allows you to choose the web framework that you want to work with. So whether that's web forms or MVC, or actually the two together working side by side, that's also possible. And then you can choose what would be the template, what would be the style of that particular widget, and you can choose those from here. But let's maybe publish this page, and I'll switch over to the topic of Feather, which is a module that you enable through the modules and services. Here is where you maintain all the modules in Sitefinity. So if you're not using something, you can simply deactivate it, or if you want to use something, you can install it and activate it. And you see here we have the Feather module enabled for this particular project. Now, what is Feather? You can simply search for Project Feather, and it would take you to the Project Feather page with several useful links and resources that you can find here. The idea of Feather is to actually provide you with those MVC stock widgets that we used, so the ones that are dynamically generated for any new type of content that you create, and the ones that you use for any built-in content types, like, for example, the news, blogs, etc. So this is one part of the project, but another part is the front end of your choice. So we saw the responsive design in Sitefinity, and it's actually great, but many designers don't really care about Sitefinity. All they care is about delivering the designs that they have created, and you want to make sure that you are able to kind of move those over to Sitefinity seamlessly. And for that, we actually have Feather enable Bootstrap, Foundation, and Semantic UI, which are the most popular front-end frameworks out there. So you can immediately start using those with Sitefinity. And in addition to that, you can also create your own front-end framework, really, because the resource packages that we use allow you to group all the resources you need for any project. So let's see that in Visual Studio. And this is my project in Visual Studio. And once you install Sitefinity Feather or enable that module for your project, you would find those resource packages in the root of your project. So we have resource packages, and then we have Bootstrap, Foundation, Semantic UI. And as I mentioned, you can create your own resource packages as well. What's a resource package? It contains all the assets, so all the fonts, icons, images, CSS files, JavaScript files, every asset that you have. In addition to that, it contains the grid system. So Within Sitefinity, responsive design, the built-in responsive design uses a set of layout elements that we drag and drop. Within Bootstrap, we have similar elements, but the difference is that they have their own CSS classes applied, which the Bootstrap framework would take care of transforming. So we do have the default grid system templates over here as well. And finally, we have this MVC folder, which is really the cool stuff. It actually allows me to maintain any view used for the master pages, which would be contained under the layouts, and any view used for any of the widgets that we have. Like, for example, let's say the news widgets. This would be the default list view with the razor layout here and the detail view for the news widget. And here is the default master page that we use for the Quantum website. So we see we have those helper classes with placeholders where we can actually include resources. Like, for example, if you need to add any resources on your master page to the head section or to the top of the body or to the bottom of the body, you can have those placeholders and then put any resource, any JavaScript or CSS, wherever it's needed. So you can do that. And with the placeholder, again, we have just a simple placeholder where we can actually drag and drop layout elements. Now we already have that, but what I want to do is actually style the slide widget that we have auto-generated. And for that, I will need to create a new folder, call it slide, and then within that, I need to add a new item, which would be, following the naming convention, list, slide, and maybe banner, CSHTML. Okay, don't need the C# class over here. All I need is the template, and I'll just copy and paste it because we are kind of ahead in time here. So here is what we've got. So this is my razor layout. I have followed the naming convention used by Feather to identify which widget I'm working with, which view mode I want to modify, the list or the detail, and then what's the actual name of the template that I'm creating. And then within my template, within my view, I can evoke any of the properties of the item that I'm working with from the model which I have. So it's really easy to reference. You see, you can also check the default code. Let me go back to the pages, and it's currently restarting because I made those changes to the file. And you can see the widget templates in the backend of Sitefinity, so you can check those from there. Just simply copy and paste the default template which is generated for the slide, the list of slides, and reuse the code snippets to modify your template. So if you need to reference the title and pull it over, then it's simply item. From the list of items, pull the fields, and I'm looking for the title field, the subtitle field, the label of the button, and then finally the image with the media URL for the source of the image, with the alternative text for the alternative text for the image, and then the title as the title of the image. You see all the properties are made available here. And you can continue creating any number of slides. Like, for example, if you want to change the look and feel of the content block widget, you can do that. And everything is exposed. So that's really the key part of Project Feather, the fact that you have full access to the code because it's made available publicly. And let's see that. So in Project Feather, if you go over to the GitHub project, you can actually see the source code of each and every widget that we have. You can also see the front-end packages. So it's really easy to customize in case you need to do anything on your end. Okay, and let's go back to the home page and modify that. So I have the slides using the default template. You see sorry. Slide banner is actually appearing in the list of templates. That's because it's following the naming convention. So Feather will actually take care of adding this template to the list of options to choose from just by following this naming convention that we have, list slide banner. And then we have it in here and I can save it. And it would apply my new slide. And I can publish this page and I can view it online. You can of course change the template for the web forms based widgets as well, but the ease of use and the speed with which you can do that with the MVC and also the other benefits of the MVC, I believe I don't need to advertise to you. So you can of course use any of the two approaches. But the idea is that Feather really gives you that flexibility. And besides the actual widgets and the front-end frameworks, in addition to that, it actually provides you with many reusable components. Like, for example, if you need to have a selector or any other type of reusable component, then you can definitely do that. For more, you can read on our documentation portal. Just look for Feather. It has its own section with all the different aspects of developing in MVC with Sitefinity, the widget, modifying and creating widget templates, creating and maintaining new widgets, and any of the client components that I mentioned that you can reuse, like for example selectors or the field directives and so on. Okay. I think we have something like 10 minutes left. Maybe now is the time to actually address any of the questions that we have on the panel.
We don't have, so far, we don't have any questions in the Q&A panel. So if you want to have any one more feature that you want to show, you have time.
Okay, perfect. Well, I guess it's quite a lot of information. I know we had today kind of a mixed audience, so we didn't. So I really tried to kind of have something for everyone, something that's maybe can be understood by everyone, even if they didn't see Sitefinity yet. But yeah, so you saw quite a few features actually, not just five. Yeah, the final thing I actually wanted to end up with was the site synchronization. I started with the configuration in the beginning, but let's go over to that module right now, and I'll tell you in a bit more detail exactly what that was all about. So the idea is that usually whenever you need to maintain a website, again, business users worry, okay, am I going to do something wrong and break something, and I'll be punished for that? And also the administrators, again, have that worry that they would need to run and save the day afterwards. So that's why we actually enable you to maintain different environments like staging, development, staging, and production environment. And you can track all the changes that take place in the database in one environment and then reproduce those changes on the other environment. And you see, once you add the target environment, you can see how many items are actually awaiting synchronization. So the content you created within one website, you can actually push over to the other. So you have flexibility as to what type of content you would like to synchronize and when should that synchronization take place. We see we have a bunch of widget templates created and maintained, and we also have some news items modified, and we also modified the page. We can see which those items are. We can see, okay, which are the news items I want to sync. Do I want to sync all the news articles, or maybe only the articles in English, or only the articles in Spanish? And I can also manually select the individual articles I want to push over, or filter them by categories, tags, and so on. So you have the flexibility of choosing when do you want to move one type of content from one environment to the target environment. And then this exclamation mark here, it's actually pointing to the fact that there may be some associated additional items that you need to synchronize, like for example the widget templates, because those are related to the pages. Because once you change the widget template, then the page also changes. So here I can choose, and I can see I change, or I created a list of slides, full slide, and then the MVC alternatives list slide and detail slide. So these are all the items tracked. And then I can choose when do I want to synchronize those items. So do I want to schedule the synchronization, or sync it right now? And you can choose, for example, I want every day at a particular time all my latest publications to go live. What this allows you to do is actually completely seal the production environment from the business users, and have them edit and create content only on a staging environment. And that's how you can make sure that nothing takes place without proper permissions, even though we do have, of course, the granular permissions on each and every item. It just gives you that other level of security, that the live environment would remain untouched, untouched by any unauthorized personnel. So this is one of the really useful applications of the staging and syncing, and it's really utilized throughout our client base very actively. And the other application is whenever you have multiple sites, and like for example we do have in here, when you are creating a new site and you simply want to add it to that environment, then you can do that as well. I'm creating a new I'm opening a new office somewhere and I want to have a separate website for them. I can simply create a new site by maybe duplicating a template that I have, like the template here, and then I can simply push it over to this environment when I'm ready. So that provides you with another set of flexibility. And these are my top features customers love. I want to thank you all for attending this webinar. I'll be available if there are any follow-up questions after the meeting, or you would like to ask about any code or feature that you saw today.
Thanks, Biliana. So I'm going to now stop the recording, and then we'll get over the Q&A. So thank you very much to everybody who attended this webinar. Hope you got to see something new, and we look forward to your presence in your future webinars too.